I want to talk about the latest hysterical attempt by the anti-Democrats to overturn the referendum result. First, they blamed racists for it, then a selfish older generation, then Murdoch, then the Daily Mail, then the Russians. Now they're screaming 17.4 million Brexiteers were duped into voting leave because a few extra 100,000 quid was passed from one campaign group to another. So if that swung it for leave, how come the £9 million the government spent sending leaflets to every household in Britain didn't swing it for Remain? Those fighting to overturn Brexit need to believe it was a cheat, a conspiracy, a brainwashing exercise, because they refuse to see what it really was. An enraged scream by people who felt abandoned, ignored and patronised by our political and liberal elite. What these supercilious, self-serving Remainers need to realise is the public's moved on. A recent poll showed a 57% majority of us just want to get on with getting out. This week marks a year before we exit the EU and go global. The anti-Democrats need to get used to that.
Who needs a satirist? Who needs satirists when Carole parodies herself now so efficiently?
You guys, actually, you supercilious Remain.
No,
That's
Carole, thanks. As speaking as an hysterical anti-democrat,
yes.
I think you're right. I don't think that the referendum result is going to be unhinged by any technicality, but you still fail to address some really key issues that do remain, and no pun intended. Yes, 17.4 million people voted to leave, but they didn't know what they were leaving for. So let's throw it forward. Let's not go back and fight the referendum again. Let's just remember.
Well, but you keep on trying, and that's not true.
No, we're not
that's
fighting the referendum. What we need to look at is we've got a year from today until we leave the EU. Therefore, we have got to make sure that the deal that is in place, when Parliament gets to have its vote on the deal, is good enough for the country to benefit and prosper outside the EU. Therefore, I think Keir Starmer, who is the shadow Brexit secretary, is exactly right. And instead of just enacting the result of the referendum, which we should remember was advisory, but the government converted that into mandatory.
Wait. Didn't say that.
Hold on, Carole. Anyway, let us just finish. Let me just finish.
No, but can we go back to what I'm talking about?
No, we can't. I want to finish my point.
Okay.
No, I'm just going to finish my point, which is this. When it comes to the deal, let us assume, I don't think this is going to happen, by the way. I think Parliament is going to vote for the deal because they're going to be whipped into submission. But if Parliament votes against the deal, then I think that the following should happen. That the vote on whatever the deal is should be turned to MPs, not ministers. And MPs should be given a free vote on the deal, and let us take it from there.
Well, you said that before. What I wanted to go back to was, do you think this latest attempt to derail it is a load of old nonsense?
Can I just say something?
I said we're not going to have it unhinged by technicality.
On this latest, I'm actually interviewing this guy on my radio show on Sunday on ABC, the Shami, the whistleblower. And one thing I know for a fact. Well, hold on, that's a bit harsh. He was actually outed as being gay against the wishes of his...
Well, hang on. If he didn't want the world to know he was gay, why did he take part in the Gay Pride March if he didn't want the world to know he was gay?
Because when you're sitting in Pakistan, you're not going to be watching the Gay Pride March in London. No, I can guarantee you you're not. I can guarantee you're not, right?
Let's move on.
You know, I think outing people is unethical, right? And I don't think we should be justifying it. I think people have the right to define themselves.
I'm not justifying it. It had to be done for his boyfriend to qualify why he did it.
I'm shocked.
I'm speechless.
Carole, I'm speechless.
Carole, there's very rarely can you say something that actually shocks me.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
He could have refused. Anyway, let's not go.
Do you actually think? But seriously,
Carole, I'm not going to get into
it's
that
a
with
losing
you.
argument. I think
Magic, carry on.
Brexit. I don't think we're going to actually win if we try and say it's actually ethical to out people without their permission.
I didn't say it was ethical to out.
You just said it had to be done.
Stop. I said for this guy to qualify why it was done.
Stephen, his
ex-boyfriend.
This conversation.
No.
Oh, please.
We do have a grab
right,
from
okay,
him, by the way. Can we actually, in order to calm things down, can we go to...
And there is absolutely no evidence,
Can we go to Joe Coburn's Daily Politics and hear from the man in question?
His claims.
Have you got the smoking gun that says you must spend the money in this way and we are telling you to spend it with this group? You have no choice. you don't?
No, we don't. The evidence is to do with coordination and how every decision was run through senior members, how AIQ was based in the Vote Leave office, how I had never heard of AIQ when the decision was made.
That kind of proves my point. Absolutely no evidence.
What were you saying,
Well, I was going to make a point about Brexit, actually, and that is that your introduction that this is an attempt to derail Brexit strikes me as rather curious, because the man we just saw on the screen there still believes in Brexit, still wants Brexit to happen. Now, if we take what he says at face value, and I don't see any reason not to, because I like to think good of human beings. Because there's no evidence,
that's why.
Well, hold on, let me make my point.
No
I'm trying to
written
make
evidence.
my point for the last
Well, you
10
said there's no
minutes.
reason
Can I
not
actually
to.
make my point, guys? Can I actually say what I'm trying to say? Right, so he says he did it because he believes in democracy and the rule of law. I believe him. I don't think that this derails the Brexit result. He himself believes in Brexit. The Electoral Commission has no powers to derail the sovereign vote of this nation. All this is an inquiry, as there are many inquiries, into what happened during the referendum, including on the Remain side. I agree the 90 million that was spent by Cameron using taxpayers' money should have been looked into, wasn't ethical as well. And so, actually, if it is about the rule of law and democracy, then that investigation applies on both sides.
No, can I bring Nick in?
No one's trying to derail Brexit.
Just saying, for legal purposes, let's just see what a solicitor for Vote Leave has to say to the point you just made, Majid. Vote Leave has twice been cleared on this matter by the Electoral Commission, as has been the case throughout. Vote Leave is obligated to review to the extent it can after this long elapsed period since the referendum all such allegations, and is doing so. We will, as appropriate, share any relevant findings with the Electoral Commission, again, as we have always done. Briefly, Carole, you've got me until... You're almost saying, whatever the deal, we must just go forward. Of course we have to respect, and of course we must leave. And I think every sane politician agrees that. I'm a little concerned, Majid. I respect your position, but... I'm so sorry, I think it might have been you, Rachel. One of you saying that the MPs should have a free... It was your idea, Majid.
What are you frightened of?
I'm not frightened of anything, because I sense that there is a mood within many quarters of Westminster that they do not reflect what the British people have voted for. Exactly. And it would be a terrible abrogation.
That's so condescending and demeaning, and you guys keep saying this.
Three-quarters of MPs were on the side of Remain.
So
of course he's right, he's stating a fact.
I don't think that's a fair reflection, but we must make sure it's the right deal. So you shouldn't be the sort of World War I gang-ho, or even gung-ho. Let's go. Let's get a measured deal. But the idea of a free, I genuinely think, would be very, very unfair to the British people.
What Mrs May put forward last week, Nick, and you'd have to admit that this was a deal that would probably suit everyone.
What would be unfair to the British people is taking the economy over a cliff.
You tell me not to talk about people. There you go. Well, the deal that she put forward last week that will remain in exactly the same position for the next 21 months isn't the deal that every hard Brexiteer wants. But we're prepared to do that to make sure that we don't fall off a cliff and to make sure that everything is prepared. And I think...
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course you can.
Thank you. So, as a supercilious Remainer,
hysterical.
And hysterical, I find this really interesting, because I think if this was the other way round, there's no way that you would be saying what you're saying. If this was Remain that had overspent, and if this was Remain that had a whistleblower... No, it's not!
More.
No.
They did. Let June finish.
Let me finish. But what I'm saying is, if we had broken the rules, which is what... this is what the whistleblowers are alleging.
There's no evidence that the rules have been broken.
But the whistleblower is alleging that. If that was the case, you would be saying the elitist Remainers using their money and influence.
But you keep on repeating things in this argument.
Right when it's your side.
But you know, because I think the Remain finances should also be looked at as well. I'd like to say how much
the parliamentary secretary of the Cabinet Office, Chloe Smith, Conservative MP, has made some remarks. I think it's worthwhile having a look at what she had to say in Parliament.
The Electoral Commission concluded that it was a well-run poll and that it was delivered without any major issues. Now, we also know that it was one of the largest democratic exercises in our history. I recognise, indeed we've seen it here today, that referendum and its subject matter elicits high emotion.
So, elicits high emotion, as we've just seen in this debate. But I can assure you, Carole, let me, as a Remainer, say to you, I don't think that this is about derailing the Brexit vote. I'm not trying to derail the Brexit vote. I will assure you that from my perspective, and the reason I'm keen to interview this whistleblower is because actually it's just about the rule of law. I believe him when he says he believes in Brexit and he's more interested in democracy and the rule of law.
He doesn't believe in democracy if he's saying that there's been messing about. You can't just keep on saying he believes in democracy when he's trying to derail it. Why did he do this, Majid, if he wasn't trying to derail Brexit?
Because, Carole, you can believe
there was cheating going on.
You can believe in the rule rule of law.
There's no evidence for the cheating going on. We've got to stop this. There is absolutely...
Basically, he's saying there was ball tampering, OK?
Yeah.
It's
like saying
and therefore the game wasn't played by the rules.
He was asked if there was any evidence for what he was saying, not a jot.
Carole, can you not see that with Rachel's example there, you can love cricket and be upset if there's ball tampering and still love cricket? He loves Brexit. He wants Brexit to happen, but he wants it to happen fairly.
You know that
according to his own words.
He said that.
He's already said it in other interviews.
He's also said there was cheating, and there's no evidence of this. So just because he says in June doesn't mean it's true.
Not everything is an attempt to derail the Brexit vote.
You must stop talking to me like I'm a moron, like I'm a leaver, because that's what you're doing.
Carole, we will have to agree to this.
I'm perfectly calm. You're just patronising, like lots of Remainers are.
Carole, we'll just have to agree to disagree on this one.
Forever.